Today we get to explore a 60-year-old heritage site that's been adapted into a modern Hollywood bungalow home. Now, with the homeowners and architects obviously unafraid to dance on the vast design spectrum, they bring with them cultural touchstones and a universal appetite that makes this home a modern masterpiece. We take a look at a modern South African masterpiece nestled on top of the hills of Westcliff, Johannesburg. We chat to the architect power couple, Silvio Rech and Lesley Carstens, who built and own this spectacular modern South African home. How's it, Silvio? How's it going?
Yeah, fantastic.
Cool. Thanks so much for having us. I don't
Great,
think
you're very welcome.
we've ever seen a home quite like this. Take Hollywood, take bungalow, and add a pinch of modern design into the pot. Give it a big stir and out pours this amazing architectural masterpiece that combines the old with the new. The spectacular home mixes an old Hollywood bungalow party feel with a modern vision of angular glass, steel, wood, and concrete. Wow, Silvio, this home is out of this world. I don't think we've seen anything quite like this.
Well, thank you so much. We had a great time trying to capture the view over Forest Town and the forest, and trying to put us in a position where you could enjoy all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to believe, but this is a heritage site, right? How did you manage to kind of preserve the old and add the new?
Well, that was in fact the challenge.
Yeah.
How do we take an American bungalow that was here before, and how do we preserve the feeling of it, and how do we add a modern building that can host parties in a sort of a Tarantino Hollywood style, at the same time as being sympathetic to the old heritage house. So what we wanted to do is unlock the potential, because we loved the whole Hollywood style bungalow that's part of the South African kind of landscape of architecture, and we wanted to add these sort of minimal verandas. One for the shade and one for the sun in winter, and capture the view. So we had to kind of take out all the non-indigenous weeds and open up the view, and that's what we've done.
Now, we've touched a little bit on the Hollywood feel, but how would you describe this architectural style?
I think the true term is called Googie architecture, and we've done a number of these kind of buildings in Plettenberg Bay and one in Cape Town. And there's just something really fun about it. It gives you a feeling that you're on holiday. And if you follow movies, then the early kind of Hollywood movies had that sort of Googie style. The bad guy's lair was always the coolest building. The James Bond kind of movies, the early ones, they always had these kind of special iconic houses that had this cool look. Another aspect of the Hollywood bungalow type house was a kind of a fun sculptural element that these kind of houses had. Think of early Rhoda houses in Johannesburg, or the Top Star Drive-In, or the entrance to the Top Star Drive-In. These sort of pieces of architecture had a holiday feeling about them and very uplifting. So the zigzag roof that you see in the existing bungalow house that was here, that kind of philosophy and that sculptural integrity is taken on into the rest of the house in terms of relating to space travel and the Jetsons and these sort of angular shapes and forms that were part of that early culture when I grew up.
Talk to me about the materials that you've used here.
The first material is South African sunlight. Second, the rock and the koppie. And we wanted to keep the materials of the house as minimal as possible, to not get a very confused kind of look. We wanted to use pure concrete, polished, no little details or cornices, pure cylindrical columns, and the off-strata concrete slab, and galvanized steel. And there's this kind of honesty with which we've put these ingredients together to create this architecture. There's one other key ingredient, which is the white oak interior, which gives it quite a soft feeling internally.
I'm so glad you mentioned the natural elements like the rock and the vegetation, because it truly feels like this home has just grown straight from the ground up. How did you execute this?
Well, the idea was to maintain the original cottage that was here, the American bungalow, and then accrete this modern veranda style house onto the front of it and have a seamless connection. We had to find onto the existing rock, so there was a lot of digging to get down to the original rock so that the building would stand up. Another architectural issue that we were very interested in, and Les and I had just come back from a trip to Japan where we were blown away by the simplicity and the kind of things that those masters deal with, and that kind of translated into the way we dealt with volumes in the house. I think a good house should have a variety of volumes. A veranda that's open and allows you to soar like a bird out, or tight, closed, private, comfortable places. And everything in between. Materiality, like a comfortable place would be lined with timber. An open place would be very tall, lined with materials like concrete and so on. So we wanted a variety of spaces as part of the menu.
Now, I think it should be very fair to describe this home as a masterpiece. And I've noticed how you've used concrete quite artistically, particularly that triangle that we see in the middle of that slab over there. Talk to me about the inspiration behind that.
I think the triangle is almost like a giant artistic sculpture. So the pureness of the triangle and the heaviness of the concrete, counterpointed by that beautiful filigree kind of spiral staircase, I think the two work very well together. And at night, the light from the pool washes gently up the rock face. So it sets a very kind of wonderful atmosphere. There's also something else that's important in the house, and that's kind of capturing the choreography of 24 hours in the house. And this veranda space, at sunrise, you get particular kind of birds flying over and a kind of light. Sunset's different, the whole of the city centre lights up. And you also have the most wonderful Transvaal thunderstorms, which almost become like a movie set. So you capture all of that with this kind of living machine that's been created here.
Well, Silvio, I'm blown away with what you've done with the exterior, and I'd love to see what you've done inside.
Okay, great. Let's go take a look.
Let's hit it. Don't go away. After the break, we explore the interior of this old world yet futurist home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're exploring a modern South African masterpiece nestled on top of the hills of Westcliff, Johannesburg. Before the break, we chatted to the homeowner and architect, Silvio Rech, about what inspired this amazing home. And now we get to explore the interior. I have to tell you, this is my favorite feature of the home, this wall over here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The interior design of this unique home has a sense of mid-century modernism. Okay. I can totally feel that I'm in the heart of the home now, but I'm really curious to know how much of what we see is old and new.
Well, where you're standing at the moment, I think 50% is old in terms of the original plan is the same. We've just removed a couple of walls, and then on the newer sections of volumes are higher, so we have that player volume, but the floor that you're on and the plaster walls around you are all original.
What was your vision for the layout and flow of your home?
Well, the philosophy was that we wanted an open plan and a kind of a social type arrangement where if you're cooking, people can help you cook and you can all be around the kitchen. So this is more interactive. The whole house is interactive in terms of volume and function as well.
Now, there's no doubt that the exterior has its own definitive character. How did you ensure that the inside was quite complementary to that?
I think the materiality goes from outside to inside as one. We don't have rock on the outside and then smooth plaster and tiles. It's kind of the whole of the interior is this original grey plaster, which is called distemper, and that sort of ruled line, which is part of the original house. By having the same simple philosophy in terms of materials, for instance, the grey plaster externally extends to the grey plaster internally. And the concrete on the outside veranda is translated internally as well. So it's a kind of a seamless connection, but the only additional thing is this sort of light-colored oak internally, which gives it a much warmer kind of feeling.
Talk me through the flooring and the wall treatments a little bit.
Well, we've got two types of floors in the house. One is the original floor that was here, like these quarry tiles that you see, or these decorative quarry tiles under the dining room table. So those are parts of the original house. Then when we moved into the new part of the house, we wanted to do this sort of cocoon kind of feel where roof wall and floor were all the same oak, which gave it a kind of a warm feeling. Creates a very cozy cocoon type space, whereas here in the kitchen you've got the sort of grey colour of the tiles, which matches the distemper paint on the wall, which goes throughout the building. So very few materials, just correctly placed for their function.
I really love how you designed the kitchen. Talk to me about how you put it together.
Well, for us, the house is like a human body. There are a number of different organs, and no organ is more important than the other. You know, one can't function without the other. But the kitchen is one of the essential parts of a home. And the design of a kitchen is so important. So we've been lucky enough to do a lot of research on kitchens, and we probably go to the Milan show once a year, look at Italian kitchens, which are my favorite. And therefore what we did is, we used some of that knowledge to create a very minimal countertop, a very thin line, and then very flush oak paneling to create all the various drawers and the sort of handles which we hand designed. And all of that is counterpointed by this sort of Flintstone, Stonehenge kind of sculptural piece of granite, which is the centerpiece, which is one of our key designs in the house. And as a good friend of mine once said, a lot of opposites often counterbalance each other or work well together. So we've got that very smooth oak that's very, very well choreographed and put together, counterpointed by the granite table. And if you look at the granite table, it has two parts to it. It has a very rough base, which is quite sculptural, and then the rough top has to be one homogeneous piece. However, the part that's at the stove where the actual flames are is polished, so that if fat spills out of the pots, that's easy to clean. And the other part is left hewn, which is slightly rough. I kind of like that way of thinking, where there's one big simple gesture and then it's handled differently in different portions of it.
And I believe that you have your studio / workspace here, which is connected with a concrete slab.
Yes, we in fact have a modest studio on the property, and I think we wanted to create two kind of masses that created a tension between this long, thin slab with the view as the backdrop. So on the one end you have the house, seamless concrete all the way, and on the other end you have the studio. And our philosophy is that working in a studio, work environment must be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, the angled columns, the off-shutter concrete and the slanted glass give it a kind of a TWA kind of googie American kind of feel to it. And it's just fun coming to the studio because you have such a wonderful view and such a nice environment.
Absolutely. I was going to say, with a view like that, it's almost impossible not to be creative and create something as beautiful as this.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Just create a wonderful space, and then creative people their minds can soar, and we can have a much better time working and enjoying working.
Absolutely. For architect couple Silvio Rech and Lesley Carstens, they wanted a one-of-a-kind home that could resemble their life experiences. With an experienced team at hand and a clear vision, they added alterations to the existing bungalow-style home, delivering to us this unique home with spectacular panoramic views of Johannesburg. Now, Lesley, I know that you and Silvio work on projects together, but describe your creative process.
Well, we're both architects, but somehow the divide has almost happened. I almost prefer doing the interior architecture, and I love doing interiors, and I love making things and designing things, and almost going down to the small stuff. I mean, half the time we design clothing, we design ceramics, we design the bedding, the linen, everything.
Now, one notices a collection of mid-century modern furniture around your home, but you also have the opportunity to create your own custom pieces. Tell me about that.
So we've got outside, we've got these pool chairs with like, we updated it with kind of a plasticky sort of weave, and then we've got our cork chairs outside. We've got, what else? We've got the table that we made of these giant slabs of travertine, which we have a stone guy in Pretoria that makes them for us. Then we've got other things like the dining room table there that my father made for us years ago in his garage. We like pushed him to make this piece for us. And then he's made all these benches for us. And then Silvio comes from a family of very strong furniture makers, cabinet makers, four centuries of Italian cabinet makers. This piece over here, Silvio designed and he made about 30 years ago. 35 years ago.
Sure.
And it's had a few colors, and it's gone from our apartment to our house, and now it's here again in white.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the space that we're in right now. What was your selection of the pieces, and how do we get this look and feel overall?
So it's kind of a collection of stuff that we've created just by visiting favorite antique shops, the couches. This is a modern couch from Paco, and these are from Casareda, and then this chair here I got from Jeremy Stevens, and it's a Joe Colombo chair from the 50s, and it's called the baseball glove, and it's a fantastic piece. Then this over here, this piece here is a painting from Coral Nell, who's one of the most preeminent painters in South Africa, and he went to North Island, which is an island we did in the Seychelles, and he did a series of these prints, and he gave one to us as a gift, which is really nice. But it's got this fantastic mystical quality that sort of resonates with the stuff we'd put in. Do you want to see the best view in Joburg from the bedroom?
I would love to. Let's
take you upstairs to our master bedroom.
Let's do it.
Okay.
With furniture pieces collected by Silvio and Lesley over time, there's a mixture of old classical pieces from around the world combined with modern pieces that were locally designed. Being involved in all areas of the design process, Lesley and Silvio have created bespoke furniture pieces that work perfectly with this wonderful home. Wow, wow, wow. This feels like a floating glass box with the sort of unfolding architectural timeline of Johannesburg right outside your window.
Well, I must say, as an architect, it's quite nice because you see the whole history of Johannesburg as it's unfolded over the last 60 years or whatever. You've got the landlords that are up on the ridge over there. Then it goes through to Braamfontein and Ponty, and then you've got the Brutalist Modernist Hospital and the Nurses' Res. Yeah. And then right through to Rosebank and Sandton, which is a new up-and-coming city. So you've continued surrounded by this timeline. It's fantastic.
This is a lovely fresh take on an open-plan bedroom. How did you manage to harmonize the spaces across it?
All right, so light is always a big thing with us. I think there's a certain element of happiness and peace that comes with natural sunlight. And the one thing about this house is you're kind of at the mercy of the elements, but you also have to enjoy the elements. So in the morning you get these incredible sunrises, and in the afternoon you get these incredible sunsets from the other angle. So in the evenings this whole landscape sort of starts glowing, and then you get all the birds coming back at night. And there's just thousands and thousands of ducks that come past. And so they come sort of at eye level as you come past,
That's a new take on traffic for you.
Yeah, it is. But you feel like you're on the sort of the duck highway. Yeah. So I think we pushed the envelope a bit. You do want an open plan bathroom, but there's still these notions of privacy. And then just taking essences of what a space is about. So a bathroom is a free-floating standpipe with water and these big lily pads for your vanities. So we designed them like these trees that sort of pop out of the ground with these big floating discs. And then the bath is also, it's a bath with a view. We always do baths with a view because it's a kind of time for relaxation and repose. And you're not tucked in some arbitrary little bathroom.
Now I want to move away from the master suite and move straight into the kids' bedrooms, and particularly Luna's bedroom. I know you've got an infinity pool downstairs, but I never quite thought you could get an infinity bedroom, which really is what Luna's bedroom feels like.
So we've just tried to maximize the feeling of opening this room as much as possible. So we've got these 4-meter high glass doors that just slide away. So there's that sort of continuity between the urban landscape and the sky and the grass and the green, and we keep changing the colors on the linens and that. So 2 weeks ago we had all the jacarandas. So we just pulled a little bit of lilac into the room, and it's just like a simple thing. You change a bedspread, but you're just suddenly in contact with everything else. It awakens those sensibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, then our son's bedroom. My son is he's a third-year architect. He's coming back from UCT, and he wants to do his masters at UJ. So we ended up having to do a room for him as well. Yeah. So it was like this little add-on, and we just tried to experiment with different materials. I found these Oregon pine beams at an antique shop at the back. And then we've used this translucent material called Sunpal, which is gives this whole thing like this giant Chinese lantern-y kind of glow. It's a 4-meter high space. It's almost like a 4x4 cube. And his job was to detail it, to project manage it, to design it. And it was a great intro for a young student.
Absolutely. Talk about keeping it in the family.
Yeah, it's a bit lame following in your parents, but you teach your kids what you know.
No, well, it's excellent footsteps to follow.
Yeah. Thank you.
imagine.
Yeah, okay.
Silvio, nice to see you again.
Yeah,
I mean, I see you enjoying this beautiful
Oh,
view.
yes.
So as parents and almost professional globetrotters, what kind of lifestyle did you want your home to create?
Well, it's turning into a party house. It just seems to be relentless parties, which is becoming quite interesting.
Well, as I told you, I'm not really a party animal. I'm more of a design hermit. But it's fantastic to have a house like this. It's a very uplifting holiday type feeling, and yes, we do end up having people around.
Yeah.
And it just gives energy to your life to have lots of other people around.
Well, party house, heritage site, home, whatever you want to call it. With a view like this, I think it qualifies as an architectural and national treasure.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Don't go away. After the break, we show you how to achieve this look at home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we explored a modern South African masterpiece nestled on top of the hills of Westcliff, Johannesburg. Up next, we'll give you a few tips and tricks on how to get this look at home. As they say, to understand today, it's good to look back on yesterday. This Hollywood-style bungalow does just that, molding iconic interior with forward-thinking design. And Tabby, I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite homes, primarily because of the combination of style and color. It's brilliant.
And eras, it mixes a lot of different eras. And I love the way you're using the word iconic, because you have iconic pieces in the house that just take you back in time.
Absolutely.
And in such a modern textured home with concrete, the spiral staircase just really sets the tone for the heart feel, and then you soften it with big chaise lounges outside and comfortable seating and that incredible view for you to enjoy this interior.
Let's go from the outside in. Right from the get-go, we've got the 2 levels where you can view that beautiful, beautiful setup outside, and we've got a round settee to kind of set it out for the family and friends to hang out.
Yes, and just to everybody chill and enjoy that magnificent view.
Right.
It is. And starting from out here, obviously it's very indoor-outdoor, this house. And the elements that they've used there with these type of chairs is they are indoorish with that white little streaks of leather, plastic, wicker that really enhance the mixture of styles with this home. That iconic chair that's plastic molded mixed with the layers of tables. The settee is everything. It sets the tone for this home, that up there in the hills you can overlook there and just chill. The lounges are deep, fun, layered, and that maroonish purplish color coming through can also be done in an outdoor fabric. Mirroring that spiral staircase, the concrete slabs, it just brings this architectural masterpiece together.
And then when you move on into the different rooms, you've also got this lounge where it's a real combination of styles. I mean, we've got a few African ornaments combined with leather couches. Talk us through this.
This one is very historic. It's leveled, and I love rooms like that because everything becomes a conversational piece, from the sideboard to the sofa to the type of rug, and mixing elements where you've got the vintage chairs, and as you say, bringing in this sculptural artifacts just to complement the architectural home.
And I see you've selected somewhat of a carpet here for us. Is
Yes.
this for this particular room?
Absolutely it is.
Great. Why does it work?
Because it pulls in those colors. If you look at the black leather, the mustardy vintage chairs, and then obviously just that rusty tones and earthy tones then come through in that very architectural, modernized, abstract rug.
I think this is a great selection of colors and textures because it doesn't really look too bland. Brown can be a bit tricky. It can, you know, and to make it a bit interesting, I see that you've added a bit of mustard here, which does, you know, bring in a few elements.
It has, because these vintage chairs could also be in leather, can be in camel, but just to bring that mustardy color, to pick that earthy tone up, is a very nice merger of that rusty tone with the black leather and the mustard element. And that's what they've achieved in this interior. Without it, it becomes quiet, and then you just have that punch of sweet, leathery, mustardy coming through.
And if we move on to the next section that we had, now, I mean, you're competing with a magnificent view. So how do you keep up with something so aesthetically pleasing?
You simplify the interior because everything else is just out there to appreciate. And they've done that with a stone dining table, with the wooden chairs, the terrazzo flooring, and everything is opened up to this Joburg magnificence.
Okay, so now we're faced with a bit of a challenge because we've got a combination of styles, eras, colors. So if we're trying to achieve this look in 3 steps,
where do we start?
Let's start inside.
Great.
So that would immediately take us to our lounge, which is the more livable area. And obviously here we can see the mid-century modern feel, and how they've achieved that is with the streamlined, clean look, mixed with that organic flow of retro pieces, and again with that punch of modern colors.
Yes.
And how you get that is obviously you start with your sofa, the black coming through on that area, and then the retro pieces are a nice mix, along with vintage and artifacts that are sourced and found locally.
So it's probably key to kind of get those core pieces that will last you a lifetime, but keeping it simple and clean.
Keeping it simple. And obviously with the homes that we've done, we've seen the cushions, the drapery. Here there is
No frills.
no frills.
Yeah.
It's clean, it's understated, it's functional, and that is where we do the form follows function.
And the beauty lies in the lines and the different kind of cultural and historical references.
Yes, it does, absolutely.
This home is one of a kind and is most definitely on top of South Africa's list for preserving the old while introducing the new. This truly is a finest home.